Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lancers Lounge podcast brought to you by Power Play Sports. I'm Damon, Proctor, your co-host, alongside with Jonathan Agette, and we have our special guest today, Markus Law-Heese. Before we get into Markus, of course, and before we get into Markus and his story a bit, we'll introduce ourselves. I'm a first-year master's student in the Sport Management and Leadership program at the University of Windsor here. And Jet, tell them a little about yourself.
I'm also a first year in my master's, and I also play football for the Lancers here.
And we're joined by our varsity setter, star player, OUA Player of the Year. We'll get into that a little bit. But tell the people a little bit about yourself, just a quick little background.
My name is Markus Law-Heese. I'm in my fifth year here. Spread out my undergrad in sport management through the 5 years. And I've been enjoying my time here as the varsity setter and coming to play a pretty good role with the men's volleyball team.
Nice. And where are you from? Where's your hometown, Markus?
My hometown is Aurora, Ontario, just north of Toronto, by like 40 minutes.
Okay. So you're not it's not super far from your family, but still close enough.
Yeah, I mean, they actually just came down for our home opener last weekend. I'm sure we'll talk about that game later. But, they come down when they can. But a lot of the times when we're in Toronto or in Guelph type of areas at the away games, that's when they get to show up most and get to watch my games.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because there's a good amount of teams around that area, so they can go to a lot of away games.
Exactly, like an hour and a half drive for them isn't the end of the world if they're going to come watch me. So they've been extremely supportive in my career for sure.
Cool. And we'll touch a little bit upon that later, but right now I want to focus on, like you said, your start against Nipissing. Big 2-0 start to the season. What's the vibes? How the boys feeling? How I got your game on Saturday and you guys looked really good, but you have a better understanding of how everything went. How did you feel that you played? And then talk about, how the team played a little bit.
Yeah, man, honestly, it's huge to start off 2-0. Like, there's a lot of good teams in our league and it's not easy to win. And, it's an easy trap to fall into when, we had an 18-2 record last year. We can go into the weekends feeling, pretty good about ourselves. But like I said, there's a lot of good teams and any team can put up a fight. So to start off our season 2-0 against a team like Nipissing, who we actually haven't played since my second year.
Oh, wow.
They were our non-competes for 2 years in a row. So It was a brand new team for us. A lot of guys we didn't know. And, they're a strong team in a sense where, they had a strong class coming together similar to our class, like our fifth year class now.
Yeah.
We all came in together and played together for such a long time. So that Nipissing team, they got a lot of guys in their third year that are like really strong players, maybe a little less known just because of their, young age, but a lot of good experience. And, I expect them to do pretty well in the OUA this season.
Yeah.
And now, so speaking a little bit more about competition, obviously you guys have a pretty good schedule this year. And I got a chance to look at all the opponents that you have, and everyone very, admirable, good opponents. But of your schedule, who do you think is going to be the toughest team to play against this year? If you don't have the teams, I have them right in front of me, but
I know the teams. I know the teams for sure. And, it's tough to say who's going to be the toughest game. There's some good matchups for us. There's some tough matchups for us. We will miss out on playing Queens in Toronto in the regular season just because, for people who don't understand, in U Sports volleyball or OUA volleyball, there's 2 teams per season that you don't play in the regular season.
Right.
They're called their non-competes. So this year it's Queens, who obviously we would want to
which is a crazy non-compete.
Yeah. We would want to play them.
Yeah.
So we don't play them, and we don't play Toronto, who's another, on paper, very strong team. They're ranked, I think, 10th in the nation right now.
Okay.
So, without them on a regular, they would be my answers. But other than that, there's, lots of good teams. I would say York is a very strong team that, we got the best of in our OUA semifinal last year.
Right.
So they'll come to us. I don't exactly remember.
I have them. They are 4th on your schedule. So I have RMC, TMU, Western, and then York after that.
Okay, so I think York's in the second half. But they'll be a really strong team. There's a strong setter on that team that, I always like to match up against. We've been going at it since way back in the club days.
Yeah.
So it's fun to play against him. And then Guelph's always a fun team to play against as well.
Right.
Especially, going back to our third year, we lost our OUA quarterfinals in that gym. So we're on the road to go to Guelph this year, which I'm pretty excited about.
Sweet. And then, other competition, talked a little bit about preseason earlier, getting to play those teams that wanted to come to Windsor because everyone wants to get used to the gym, the lighting, all that. You played, I think, all Canada West teams and Toronto in the preseason.
Yeah.
What was that like? Is the style of play any different with teams like Alberta, Saskatchewan, Trinity Western?
Yeah,
What's that like?
the teams from out west, Canada West teams are very strong. They're very strong. They got a lot of good players. They pull from all across the country, and some international players as well. Like Trinity Western setter, he's from Germany, 6'7", like massive player.
Right.
Yeah.
And he brings a lot of good talent to their team. And otherwise, they play with a very fast-paced offense and a very physical offense. It's a hard team to play against. That team like Trinity Western, a team like Alberta, they come in with a lot of cojones. They come in with a lot of gut.
Right.
No matter who they're playing, they don't really care who's on the other side. They're just going to go and play their game. So to have them come to our gym and get a look at them in the preseason is an unbelievable advantage for us.
Yeah.
Right.
For come March when national comes around, we've seen these guys before.
Yep.
Unlike last year, we may have played some very strong teams in regular season, preseason games. We didn't play anyone like that.
Yeah.
And we walked into that quarterfinals starstruck at the speed they were running.
Yeah.
Right.
I was, one of the middle blockers on our team, Darian Koski. I remember him after the match. He was like, we were outclassed in a sense that I've never seen that type of speed before.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've done some things in our own gym to help practice that speed and help practice that intensity. But to have them come to us and play a game like that where it's, a friendly environment, but we're competing.
Yeah.
Right. And you can attest a bit with your football experience because you played out at Mount Allison, that's correct, and a different conference than the OUA. And so talk a little bit about the difference in play style as well and kind of relate to Marcus in that sense too.
Yeah, I kind of had a couple of questions also for that,
sure.
But coming from Ontario, your use of Ontario volleyball, that's just how it is. That's the style and everything. And then when I went to the East Coast, it's a really run-heavy, I don't know if you know football, but run-heavy conference. And then Can West is a really pass. Montreal is just, Quebec is just the French. They're a bit, but it's a bit like that aura that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, we're the best, we're French, we're proud, you know what I mean? So my question going into it was what do you think as a fifth year, what are the next steps, and your coaching staff, are the next steps to go deeper into nationals?
Yeah, the preparation aspect is big in those types of matches because it's one and done.
Yeah.
You go into the match and it could be 3 sets and you're out of here.
Yeah.
So, our coaching staff does an amazing job of watching. And the amount of games that they watch is a bit absurd in my opinion.
Yeah.
They'll get every single attack that that this guy has done all season and put it on a filter and watch it over and over again. So, it comes to the point where, we know what they like to do, but these players that are, we got players like this on our team as well. Just because I like to do this shot or I like to run the ball, doesn't mean they can't hit this shot or they can't throw it over top.
Right.
So, there's a lot of good players that can, do a lot of things. So personally, what I do on, my own film preparation is, 1, watch what they do. 2, focus on our side. What can we do that can break them down? And as a setter, I'm looking at their defense. I relate it to a quarterback, not to the sense where I'm having offensive linemen run at defensive linemen run at me in full face. But, my job is to pick apart their defense.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at what their middle blocker, their guy in the middle who's in charge of blocking, I see what he likes to do in positions where, setters in system. I'll look to, if he likes to stop the middle, I'll look to go away from it.
Yeah.
And, that's all stuff that you can do before the match. But the biggest key is that aspect that you're talking about, in between points or in between sets. I argue that the game isn't just won with the points scored. It's the in-between points.
Okay.
There's points given in between rallies because I can look at the other side and say, okay, he's been doing this. We have to make an adjustment on this. Or, I can make an offensive adjustment, or we can talk in my defensive setting where, hey, they've been doing this in this rotation. Let's make sure to switch on that. Obviously I'm not getting into specifics right now, but there's a lot of things that we can do mid-game, mid-rally, in between sets that's the key. You know, you can do as much preparation as you'd like, but things can happen in the match that are unexpected. So you got to be able to make those switches.
So I have another question. So you talked about your class, right? You guys are obviously vets. You're advanced. Like, it's probably easier to talk to somebody that you're in the same class.
Yeah.
How about a young guy that's like maybe 2 years behind, but is a big role?
Oh yeah.
How do you get him prepared to have that knowledge and to like, he has to keep up with you guys, right? So you guys can be successful. So like, how do you bring a younger guy with you?
Yeah, I think it's been a very great aspect of our team culture, to the point where the veterans are very good at passing down that type of knowledge. And it started with the veterans when I came in, and they very supportive. Like, at any point, if a younger guy is having a role in the game or having a big impact in the game, it's all supportive. There's no type of headbutting in a sport where we're fighting for playing time.
Yeah.
There's none of that on our team, which has been, I take it for granted at times. Like, for a guy, who's coming in and having a big impact as a younger player, like, it's fully supportive. And me personally, I'll rarely, take the time to, pull him aside and say, hey, you got to do this, this, and this as a veteran. Like, I'm more of a, hey, go get it, buddy. Like, I'm just supportive, right? And if he wants to come to me with any questions, because I'm a 5th-year veteran, or he's looking to another 5th-year veteran, we got a class of 10 graduating athletes this year. So if any younger guy approaches one of us to look for that advice, he's met with open arms. But personally, there's not much of me seeking to give advice. If they want it, they'll come get it, and they know that I'm able to offer that.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of been the relationship that the Windsor Lancer volleyball team has had for a really long time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and again, like you said, you speak highly of your team, and like that speaks to the culture that you said that you guys are trying to build. The Windsor Lancer, men's volleyball, and even other teams too. Like, it's a brothership, it's a family. Like, that is what we're trying to embody with our varsity teams, and that's really cool to see. And even Jet, we did a little bit of research into your coach, James Gravel, Jimmy G. So we know that he speaks very highly of you, and even like he's been on record to say things about your work ethic and like how hard you work. What's your relationship with James? How's that?
Yeah, James, I call him G. All the boys call him G. Kind of just speaks to our relationship that he has with a lot of the guys. Is G and I are really tight. We'll be able to talk about. We talk a lot of volleyball. Don't get me wrong, but we can talk about everything and anything. All the times when I'm away in the summer, we get on the phone and talk about stuff. But it's been really nice to have his support. Like, he's helped me transform my game, not just my physical game, my mental game. Like, he's helped me understand, what it takes to be a dominant player.
Right.
Staying steady in those tough moments. Like, he's really had my back in those type of moments where, he makes sure we're sticking together. Like, you'll see at times in the game, he'll pull me aside, or he'll try and say something to me, and it ends with just a fist bump. Like, that can kind of show what our connection's like.
Right.
There's post games where we're talking, he'll call me after a game, or, stuff like that type happens a lot, but, kind of just shows how we're willing to stick together in any type of situation.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from him, and, those stats in the first couple of years, I don't ever really look back at those, but it's nice to hear that, that progression, and it speaks to what I was kind of talking about before, is, pushing for growth and looking for, what the next level is. And, I've done that almost every year with the support of, the guys ahead of me, everyone who's supporting me, my coaches. Like, it's allowed me to, step into what last year was, using your words, but a glorious year.
Yeah, it was pretty glorious.
So I'm going to talk about a few more things. So basically, you were a second team OUA in 23-24, and then this past year, you're first team All-Canadian, first team OUA, and then the OUA Player of the Year, which this past season, you were the first setter since 2006 and 2007 to be named the OUA Player as a setter. So how does that award make you feel?
To be awarded that as a setter, I believe that, it talks a lot about the guys around me. Like, you know, in years previous when, you know, it was a big spiker getting the point, getting the OUA Player of the Year, it's because, you know, he was the guy to get every attempt and spike down the ball every time. Like, the crazy part about our team is we have 5 of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, all of those guys can be deserving of these awards, but because of the fact that, you know, I have so many weapons at my arsenal, like I can go here, I can go there, I can go over here. Those guys make me look good.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, they allow me to get those types of awards. So, you know, as a setter to get the Player of the Year, I think it talks about a lot about our team. You know, it's a team award in my mind. As a setter to get that, it's a team award. Yeah, because I couldn't do any of what I do without them. Yeah, putting them away. So
exactly.
You know, I speak highly of my teammates for sure.
So, what did you do to make sure that you're not complacent and you are in a position to get that award again?
Yeah, that's a good question. And something I learned from last year is, you know, like this time last year, if you were to tell me I was going to be the OUA Player of the Year and first team All-Canadian, like, you know, that wasn't even on my mind. Yeah, like I knew I was a good player and I knew our team could do great things, but for that award to be presented to me, it wasn't even on my mind. So what I learned from that is, you know, and you could probably relate to this, but, you know, me personally, I learned like I am way more capable than I think. Yeah. Like, I'm way more capable, like, to do those things that I did and win those awards. Like, I didn't even think that was a possibility for me. So I use that line, I'm way more capable than I think, to look forward. Yeah. You know, and I got those awards, they're done, and, you know, I can kind of check those boxes, but, you know, what's stopping me to doing more things and, you know, being more capable of, you know, some greater things. And, you know, there's a lot of check marks on that list of what I've done, but not every check mark. You know, there's still plenty of things that I want to do. And, you know, I think you're both thinking of an OUA championship. Like, you know, there's still plenty of things that I think I want to do. Yeah, I want to run that back. Going into the off season, I flip switch into a beach volleyball gear where, you know, I believe that the training that I compete in and the training that I do throughout the summer is something that sets me up for great success. And, you know, vice versa, the training that I do on the indoor scene sets me up for great success on the beach season. It's kind of like every time I go to beach, because of everything I've done on the indoor, I improve. Right. And then I improve and come back to indoor and I just improved again.
Keeps going up.
So it's a complementary sport. And, you know, the training that I do in the summer is, you know, my father is actually a big coach of mine. He was a beach volleyball player in his days. He helps me out a lot in my training every day, and it's hard. The training that I do in the summer, it's hard physically, and, you know, to balance a long season like that, you know, I need some off time, right? To do 8 months of indoor, then 4 months of beach is kind of unrealistic. So, you know, I kind of flip a switch at the end of the indoor season and spend a good 2 months hitting the gym hard, because, you know, that's a big part of any sport. You gotta be strong. So I spend a lot of time there, and, you know, that would be a big, you know, contribution to the level that I play at. And then flip the switch after that 2 months, into some hard training in the sport. And, you know, beach volleyball is a different sport where you're playing on sand. So, you know, it's a hard learning curve. Every time I get back on there, you know, I imagine you guys have been to a beach before. It's hard to move.
Those beach legs. Yeah.
It's definitely hard.
Those beach legs take a good 2 weeks to come back. So it's hard training. Training. And, you know, to come back into this season, knowing everything that I did this summer, and, you know, I guess I didn't really get into much depth, but, you know, I competed for a 3-month stretch on the domestic tour, playing against and with the national team, Canadian national team, beach volleyball national team. A lot of players on that I play against. I didn't mean to say I play against the Canadian. There's a bunch of different players on that team, and it's a team of 2. So, you know, you butt heads sometimes. Oh yeah. But to know that I've done a lot of great things in the summer, you know, inspires me to come back to the indoor season and not know what I'm capable of.
I did have a little question, another fun little question. And this might be tough to answer. Speaking of beach.
Fun question that's tough
to answer. It's fun and it's tough. Can only play one for the rest of your life.
Oof.
Beach or indoor?
Man, I feel like this answer changes so many times.
Because I think I've asked you this before.
Exactly.
But,
You asked me during indoor season, and I'm set on indoor. You asked me during beach, I'm set on beach. But definitely in the past couple of years, I've been finding my heart lays in the sand, and that beach volleyball game is definitely special to me. So if I were to answer that in my, I'd like to say, one of my last seasons of indoor, I'm looking forward to the beach volleyball scene for sure.
And that's a perfect segue, your last season. And I know you got a whole season left to play, but what do you think is going to be the thing you miss the most about playing Windsor Lancer volleyball when you're done here at the end of the season?
Oh man. Yeah, it's definitely got to be, just the guys. And I think every athlete's going to say this. Those road trips, those team dinners, those types of things where you're not really thinking of the sport. You're not really thinking of the sport. You're just hanging out with your boys and hanging out with your teammates. That type of stuff will forever be missed for sure.
Yeah.
And to answer that question in like a volleyball aspect, to be in a tough moment on the court, to be in a tough moment and, to huddle up or to, dap up with the boys and, stick together in those moments.
Yeah.
That's something that I'll definitely miss about Windsor Lancers volleyball.
Yeah.
Like being able to respond from those tough moments and sticking together. Yeah, that's something that I guess I won't be able to have.
Yeah. I mean, I think even just the listeners too can relate or can attest to like how much you love your team and like how you've talked about them over the past, over the podcast, and like it speaks volumes. And like we know that like that is truly what like it means to you. And again, like I mentioned earlier, like being prideful of our school teams and like being proud of like what we produce. And like that's the stuff. It's not always about just the wins and losses and the championships, but knowing that our teams are so united and like bonded together like you guys are. So it's really cool to hear that from you. And like what you'll miss the most is not, again, how successful you guys were or whatever. It's the bond that you have. So that's a really excellent answer. So thank you for that. And now last couple things before we wrap up here, because we've taken a lot of your time and we appreciate you being here. But again, speaking of the future, do you have any sort of idea of what you want to do after you're done with school? Any overseas plans, staying here to play beach? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, I mean, to be a top player in our indoor league, it would be easy to go across seas overseas to sign a pro contract and play indoor volleyball for a pro team, which a lot of our Canadians have done. Me personally, just kind of relating back to the question you just asked me, beach is definitely where my heart lays, and my plan is to pursue beach volleyball full time and play on the world tour and pursue the 2028 LA Olympics.
Whew. I'm gonna see you there. I'm gonna volunteer at it. So I already got a spot set up. So awesome, I'll see you on the court. But
that's the first goal for me. I mean, obviously it's a big one, and there's gonna be lots of goals to hit to reach there. But definitely the 2028 LA Olympics, representing Team Canada on the beach volleyball.
I mean, we've seen you play. I mean, I've seen you play for the past 5 years, and like I think everyone here knows how capable of a player you are. And like we talked about with you and James, the room for growth is just ever continuing, and that's a good thing. You're ever evolving every practice, every game, every year, and you have lots of time to work towards that. And I think that's a very achievable goal for someone like yourself and
Thanks,
the work ethic you put in. So, but any other final questions, Jet? Anything?
Honestly, like the last couple of questions gave me some goosebumps. Like I was feeling just talking about the boys and like being in the game, those big games. There's nothing like it. Like mostly sure. Like when the crowd's behind you, like it's beautiful. Like obviously we're in our playoff run right now. Being at home is it's special. Yeah. So definitely like the Lancer, like the Windsor community is special for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game this weekend, man. We'll have your back for sure.
Hey man, and I'll have your back during the whole run.
Yo, you best believe the boys will be out there.
Oh, we're gonna be there for nationals, making some noise. Yeah.
So, well, Marcus, thank you so much for coming out today. We appreciate everything. Thank you all for listening. We hope to see you next time on the Lancer Lounge. Until then, take care.
Thank you.